Hello and welcome to Big Sis and Company focused on the issues. I am your host, Big Sis, and as you know, what we do is we talk about issues that affect the community, everything from finances to relationships. And what we're going to be doing today is actually talking about relationships. That's something that pretty much affects everyone. And we're going to talk about some effective ways of communicating in relationships. And to help me do that, I've invited a special guest, Dr. James Wadley, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all inviting me to come down.
Yes, definitely. So, Dr. James Wadley, why don't you tell everyone what your title is and what exactly that you do?
I'm a marriage, family, and sexuality therapist, licensed professional counselor in 2 states, in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, professor over at University of the Sciences in Philadelphia and at Westchester University, educational consultant to 3 different school districts, and I do drug and alcohol work on the weekends at Seabrook House in New Jersey. So I stay pretty busy.
Yeah, sounds like it. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about relationships, and of course that's a very broad topic. So let's first talk about that. Why do you think that communication is such a huge issue in relationships?
Right. What makes it a huge issue is that people bring different perspectives and communication styles to a relationship. And so the way that you grew up and the way that I grew up, while we may have grown up in the same neighborhood, the way that we communicate to one another will possibly be different. The way that I communicate to you from a man to a woman, and as a woman to a man, African-American to African-American, and so on, it's going to be different among a lot of different spheres. And what happens is that when people aren't able to communicate effectively, oftentimes people don't feel safe within that particular relationship.
Now, talk a little bit more about feeling safe in the relationship. And I think that's a really key point as far as feeling safe and how it relates to communication.
Right. So if you can imagine sitting in your living room with your partner and you all are watching TV, and you offer to me that your favorite TV show is something, and I say to you, Lita, you're crazy, you're stupid, I can't believe you would ever want to watch something like that. The likelihood of you sharing that you want to watch your favorite TV show with me again, it really reduces the likelihood.
Right.
So what I do is I promote safety in relationships where people can feel comfortable sharing exactly who they are, exactly what they're thinking, exactly how they're feeling, and exactly what they do. And when couples feel safe in the relationship, chances are they're going to disclose exactly who they are and whatever it is that they're thinking or feeling.
Tell me again, you talked about the safety techniques in communication. And I know that I believe it's 8 different styles or effective ways for communicating. Why don't you talk about that?
Right. So I came up with 8 different guidelines for people to feel comfortable in their relationship. The first guideline is to respect others or respect your partner. And oftentimes people define respect in a lot of different ways. So some people believe that I can respect you by watching television, but you're still talking with me. So while respect is defined in a lot of different ways, one of the things that I talk about is maintaining appropriate eye contact, facing you while talking with you, and then using an appropriate tone. Sometimes when people use an inappropriate tone, they may be yelling at one another, or they may be whispering to someone, and it becomes disrespectful. And so, again, I spend a lot of time talking about what respect is for you, what respect is for me, and whoever else is involved in that particular relationship. And again, as people hear their partners talk about what respect means and how they define respect, they say, oh, well, I didn't know that I've been disrespecting you all of these years. But hearing you say this, now I have a better understanding of what you want and what you need from me in this particular relationship. So that would be the first guideline.
Okay. That makes sense, though, like you said, because everyone has different what respect means to them. So I can really see how that would be important as the first thing to really establish.
Right. The second guideline is confidentiality. So confidentiality is what's said in the relationship stays in the relationship. Oftentimes I get couples who come in and their partner's complaining that that one partner or the other called up their mom or their dad or their boyfriend or their girlfriend and said, hey, guess what we're doing in our relationship, and guess what just happened to me. Well, what happens is that couples and individuals in a relationship, they don't spend time talking about who are safe people we can talk to about things that happen in our relationship. And what makes that important is that if I'm talking to my best friend and you feel threatened about me talking to my best friend, you say, well, James, I don't want you to talk to your best friend about our business. What happens is that I have to hold those feelings in. So who can I run to or who can I talk to get support to be the best partner for you? So confidentiality is really important. And as people define what confidentiality is and what it means to them, as well as the people or the entities whom they can talk to, it tends to make things a little bit easier and safer for people to be who they are in the relationship. I may be looking at you like, Lita, well, we're in this together, so you need to tell anything and everything under the sun to me. Well, what happens is that as we've spent time together, you may not be able to get anything and everything from me. So you need your family, you need the people around you and your close friends to support you to be the best person in the relationship. But again, if I'm not secure within myself or have a certain level of self-esteem, then I may feel threatened by it. But again, if couples can spend time talking about who are safe people that we can talk to about whatever, about our relationship, then it tends to make things a lot easier.
That's some good stuff there. So what's next on the list?
So next on the list is acknowledge differences. So it's important for couples and individuals to recognize that the person that I enter the relationship as will be significantly different down the road. Oftentimes when people enter relationships, they make the assumption that their partner should be in the same place that they met 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's important to acknowledge differences because even though we may have come from the same neighborhood, the same town, gone to the same school, or even attended the same church, we're going to think, feel, and behave differently. But again, as people spend time with one another in an intimate relationship, it's the assumption that you shouldn't change. You should be just the same way you are on the day I met. And that's hasty and that's foolish. But if couples are given the latitude and the space to change over time, and be willing to communicate that to their partners and be open enough to communicate that to their partners, hopefully people will feel safe within the context of the relationship.
And that one I can see it being a really strong one. We'll definitely have to kind of dig deeper in that one on another show to really talk about that one too.
If I may, let me go back to talking about change. Change occurs in a lot of different ways for people. You change physically, you change emotionally, you change sexually or intimately, and you change spiritually. Physically, people change over the course of the lifespan. They may pick up weight, they may lose weight, their hairstyles may change, whatever it is, their bodies will change over the course of the lifespan. And when couples aren't able to acknowledge and appreciate and accept their partner's bodies changing for whatever reason, it can compromise safety. Emotionally, people change over the course of the relationship because there may be days that I love you to death, but on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I don't like you because you got to get up early in the morning. On Saturday morning when we wake up together, I can love you to pieces again because I enjoy the amount of time that we spend together. But then in the evening, when you ask me to wash the dishes or vacuum the house, I get really upset and I get frustrated and I get annoyed. So as people are able to recognize the emotional changes in the relationship and say, hey, I feel differently than I felt this morning, yesterday, or the week before, or even a year before, hopefully people have the space and the latitude to be able to accept the changes that happen for each individual.